For those of you that don't know me, my name is Todd Stennis. I'm Amtrak's Director of Government Affairs, based out of New Orleans, but reside on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I'm here today with my colleague Jeff Mann from our state-supported department, and we're going to give you just a quick overview on Amtrak in the state of Mississippi with a specific focus on the new Mardi Gras service on the Gulf Coast that is our new state-supported service and the newest service in the Amtrak network. So just a quick overview about Amtrak. For those of you that are not familiar with the history of Amtrak, Amtrak was created by the Rail Passenger Services Act in 1970. Began service in 1971. We have been running intercity passenger rail service throughout the country since 1971, when all of the previous railroads that had their own passenger service gave that service up. And the purpose behind Amtrak's creation was the railroads were hemorrhaging cash considerably in the late 1960s, and they were looking for an exit strategy on their common carrier obligation to carry passengers. So to that end, that was led to the creation of the Rail Passenger Services Act and thus Amtrak. Amtrak has two key rights. We have right of access, which means that we can access any railroad in the country to run passenger service over. And we also have right of preference meaning that passenger trains are to be operated ahead of freight trains in the sense of how those schedules operate. Today, we have a network that is over 21,000-mile network. We have over 500 stations around the country, and we have over 21,000 employees. This past year, we carried over 34.5 million people throughout the entire country. If you stacked us up against domestic air carriers, whether it was Delta, United, or anybody else, we would rank 5th in the country in domestic carriers. So this is what the network looks like, and I want to give you just kind of an overview of the map here. The color coding on the map is the gold represents the long distance network. The blue lines represent our state-supported network, and the red up in the northeast is our own Northeast Corridor that Amtrak owns the bulk of that mileage between Washington and Boston. Some of the routes that you see that have blue are also long-distance routes as well, but they're overlaid in blue. And I'm going to give you a little bit of detail here as to how the different elements of Amtrak work. That is, if it'll go, there we go. Okay. So just a little bit of background on how Amtrak actually functions. As I mentioned earlier, the Northeast Corridor is predominantly owned by Amtrak. That's where we have our high-speed service. Service is up to 160 miles per hour there with the Acela service that you've probably heard about, and multi-frequency trains running between Washington, New York, and Boston. Throughout the bulk of the country, we have 15 long-distance trains. That's really the foundation of what Amtrak operates. There's 2 long-distance trains operating through Mississippi, the city of New Orleans and the Crescent, city running from New Orleans through Jackson up to Chicago via Memphis, and the Crescent operating from New Orleans up through Hattiesburg, Meridian, on to Birmingham, Washington, and New York. But we also have a state-supported network. It comprises of multiple states around the country that Jeff's going to give you a little bit more detail on here in a few minutes. And the reason behind that is in 2008, Congress passed the PREA legislation. That was the Passenger Rail Investment Improvement Act. And the purpose behind that was Congress wanted to separate the short distance trains and the long distance trains. And that's what the PREA legislation, specifically Section 209, did. And what it says is that any service that Amtrak operates that's less than 750 miles, those costs to operate that service are primarily borne by the states. So regardless of where that is, that's the way that works. And that is a federal law that's still in place today. The long distance service is anything over 750 miles. So when we talk about the city of New Orleans and the Crescent, those are long distance trains. When we talk about the Mardi Gras service on the Gulf Coast, that's one of the short distance trains. So that's the difference between the two, and that's the genesis behind how those two operate. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what goes on in Mississippi as far as Amtrak is concerned. We have 8 daily trains that operate over 3 routes. As I mentioned, the Crescent, the City, and the Mardi Gras service. The Mardi Gras service came online in August, and we've got two round trips a day, 4 trains a day. Started on August the 18th, and we've got approximately 106,000 boardings a year in the state of Mississippi through all of the stations that we serve from the Gulf Coast to the Tennessee state line. We've got 77 employees in the state of Mississippi, and they have an annual salary of approximately $7.9 million that circulates back through the state of Mississippi's economy. This information comes off of what we call the Amtrak state fact sheets. If you go online to amtrak.com, you can look these up anytime. We keep this information updated every year. As soon as the fiscal year is over, we'll reconcile the data and we make sure that we have all of that information there for any given state of the 46 states that we serve. So anytime you want to look at that, or if you want the information directly, even from previous years, I'm happy to share it with you. Feel free to reach out to me and I can get that for you. So let's talk a little bit about Mardi Gras and what Mardi Gras is doing. And I'm going to ask my colleague, Jeff Mann, to come join me because Jeff is going to give you the specific details relative to the state-supported service and how the Mardi Gras service is functioning across the Gulf Coast, because we're quite pleased with everything that it's doing thus far. Jeff?
Hiding behind you. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate that. And thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. We appreciate it. Really a great news story with the Mardi Gras. As you know, it started back in August 18th. And it's really exceeded performance expectations in every category. And we couldn't be more pleased with that. So the Mardi Gras, Todd described it, 2 daily round trips between New Orleans and Mobile with stops in Mississippi, of course, and ending in Mobile, Alabama. Convenient connections to the Crescent and the city of New Orleans long distance trains. It obviously has coach and it has business class as well. And it's operated with support, of course, from Mississippi. Thank you very much. The city of Mobile and state of Louisiana as well. Just a couple of pictures from the inaugural run that we had back in August. There we go. First, ridership. We've total ridership through the end of December. We had projected 71,000 for the year, for the entire first 12 months. And we've already hit over 60,000 by the end of December. We will likely exceed the ridership projection for the entire year in the first 5 months, which is fantastic, and it continues to remain strong. It's about 435 passengers a day on average, and a load factor of 64%. That's the average load factor. So at any given time, 64 seats out of 100 are occupied. But our peak leg load factor over the peak of the trip is 74%, which I will tell you that puts it in the top, probably 25% of all state-supported routes nationwide, maybe even higher than that. And the endpoints are, of course, the strongest. You can see the statistics by train there, that our morning and evening trains out of New Orleans are the strongest. But the midday trains, all the trains are performing well. So it's not just one train out of the 4. They're all performing well. Operational snapshot. Extremely proud of this performance. 86% customers on-time performance. And what that means is the probability that you as a customer on the train will arrive on time, whichever station you're arriving at, and that's almost 90%. 95% initial terminal. That's when we come out of the initial station in either New Orleans or Mobile. We hit that at almost 100% of the time, and 95%. And 87% of trains hit their endpoint on time. Our goal was only 80%. This is probably, Todd, I think the highest performing of all state-supported routes. If not, it's one of the top 2. So could not be more proud of the team that delivers the service every day and makes this happen. And our host railroad partners, CSX and Norfolk Southern, are operating the train extremely well as well. Sales snapshot. Most popular day to travel is on a Saturday. That probably is not surprising. But we also have a high utilization of group discounts and share fares. And the average fare paid is $27 in coach and $66 in business. And we've seen that go up because as the trains sell out, as we continue to see more and more demand, we're able to charge a higher fare. Our goal is not to charge the highest possible fare, but to obviously promote ridership and also recover as much revenue as we can. And we're seeing the ability to do that. Customer service, my readers, I can't read it with the readers, and it's right in that zone where it's hard to read, but I can tell you that we're at about a 94% customer satisfaction index, which is the highest of any Amtrak state-supported route in the country. And to give you an idea, Amtrak state-supported business line that I work with, I'm the senior director of that business line. We operate about 30 routes supported by 22 states. About half of Amtrak's 34 million annual passengers are all state supported. So it gives you an idea. We're not talking about 1 or 2 routes that we're the highest of. We're the highest of 30 routes that contain or produce half of Amtrak's total ridership. So it's a big deal to have the highest customer satisfaction results of any state-supported route. This is just showing a, excuse me. It's just showing a map of where we have upcoming capital improvements, and that's important because for two reasons. The capital improvements were a condition upon which we have to build them in order to start the service. But two, once these projects are complete that you see on the slide, we'll take about 30 to 40 minutes off the trip time, which will make the train even perform better, we're convinced. So really excited to get underway in the next couple of years here and complete these capital improvements, which are pretty substantial. They total over 200 million in total for the service. With that, that's kind of an overview of where we are. I can tell you that, from Amtrak's perspective, we are very, very pleased with the way the train's operating. The customers seem pleased. The demand has exceeded all expectations. Again, probably totaling in the first 5 months over our annual projection for ridership. Revenue's right behind. So, we're pleased to answer any questions, but a good news story with the Mardi Gras here.
Any questions among the committee? Senator Williams?
Not a question as much as a comment, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please go ahead.
A few months ago, several of us had an opportunity to ride Amtrak from here down to New Orleans to a legislative function that we went to, and I must commend you guys. Everything was just first rate. We enjoyed the experience, and if you haven't been on a train lately, it's probably not what we're thinking of. So I highly suggest that form of travel. Great job at executing.
Thank you very much.
And I also rode it on the Mardi Gras to Mobile, and that was a lot of fun. Good times. Any other questions, comments? All right, gentlemen, we sure do appreciate y'all coming today.
Senator Younger, thank you very much. And I would welcome an opportunity to have you all come take a trip on the Mardi Gras. We can schedule that, whether it's during session or after session. If you guys want to do that, we would welcome an opportunity to have you guys come down and take a look at it, because it is the state's train at the end of the day, and you ought to see what we're doing with it, because it's an investment by the state, and it is an investment that's paying off throughout South Mississippi and the entire Gulf Coast.
Thank you so much for coming today, and safe travels home.
Thanks, Senator
Thank
Younger.
you.
Have a good one.
Appreciate
Y'all too. Thank you. All right, now to business. We're going to call up one bill. Bill is 2019. And this is, the short title is to delete the provision that ceases payment of lottery proceeds, fund monies into the state highway fund. And what we're doing here in this bill is we're getting rid of the sunset. That's pretty much all we're doing. Any questions? Motion? Senator Blackman, yes. Oh,
Just a point of clarity, Mr. Chairman. As I understand it, the first $80 million of lottery goes to roads, and we're just removing the repeal or sunset on that, so that becomes
Correct.
permanent, if
Yeah.
you will. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
that's all we're doing.
I'll make a motion.
Title speak, okay. Second? All in favor, say aye. Any noes? All right, thank you so much. Rise and report. Hey,